Hey everybody, welcome. Hey there, hi there, ho there. You are tuned in to Gathering of the Griots this Tuesday morning. Thank you for being here. I am Asada, and I am excited about today's show. Brother is 14 hours away, 14 hours difference than us, and making it go right to be here. So that's going to be Brother Takuan Amaru. But before we start with our Gathering of the Griots extravaganza, let us first pay homage to the female solution, which is the reason why we're even here. So let's find out what it's about. And thank you to Naima Latif for making it possible. Check it out.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the female solution.
Alrighty, so this is the Female Solution Tuesday show, which is Gathering of the Griots with Asada. And today I'm excited to interview a brother that has become very dear to me. Really shift the whole universe of the Soulful Chicago Book Fair because he made our world international, like off the bat. And not only has he, we'll talk a little bit about how he came to the table, but he's been to America since that time that we met a few years ago because of the energy of the Soulful Chicago Book Fair and wanting to bring his message to the States, back to the States. So I want to take a little bit of time and let's just watch a video of when Takuan came to America, right? This is recently when he came back to present to us and met with the CEO Superheroes, which is a youth organization here in Chicago. And they, with their little smart selves, were very astute and asked him questions, and they even had him freestyle off the cuff, do some rap. So let's just take a quick look at some of Takuan's experience here with the CEO Superheroes and the impact that he made when he was here.
When you moved back to Japan, was there like a big culture shock for you happening?
Oh yes, definitely. Well, especially you imagine, because we came when I was a child to the States, from Japan to the Philippines, then to the States, and I was here until I was a young adult. So trying to, I thought I knew some things about Japan, and of course 10, 20 years go by. When I went back, it was totally different in terms of like even the architecture, a lot of it, so much Western components. There were the convenience stores, the McDonald's, everything, even the dress, the clothing. So yeah, but the Japanese people themselves, I found out, hadn't changed as much as the exterior. The interior was still mostly like I remembered it, but the exterior was a lot different. So it did promote certain changes.
Now here we have, again, the Jomon period art, and then we have a piece of art from Gabon, which is in Africa. So which one is which? Which one do you think is the one from Gabon, on the right or the left? So if you said on the left, then you're correct. The one on the left is Gabon, the one on the right is Jomon. Dobu has incisive horizontal bands, probably representing tattoos across the chest, pelvis, knees, and calves. It's very short, very curly-haired beard, is similar to some Assyrian depictions of Hebrews and other black Middle Easterners, 2000 to 1000 BC. Now, but this is Jomon. And they're saying that this is what the historians are saying about it.
Also, I heard you are a rapper. You freestyle?
Oh, somebody set you. This is a setup. Somebody set you up. I used to be a rapper. Oh yeah. Can you rhyme? Huh? You can beatbox? Huh? So you want to hit a beat?
Speaking of my baby.
Oh, I got to do something. 1, 2, 1, 2. Ori watch your boy, caught him mode, check 1, 2. I thought it was show, clap them hands, come take, I thought they close. Mina-san, Ishoni, Tokyo, now scream. Te awageo, moshimo, ibakare kimitache yo, kando. After 89, no, 8, or they touch it after 88 like this. Keep them sides like the pages of a book. Look, either not, kono de akedo, so. Miseru toki ga kita, ore wa takezo. Mina-san, feel the flow. Choshi wa do, you see we rise like the sun.
You gotta love that. It's nothing you could do but love that. Yes, indeed, Takuan came in effect mode to Chicago and did such a wonderful presentation with our audience. And really, people ain't know the difference between those traditional African art sculptures and traditional Japanese art sculptures. It was like they was getting it right, wrong, because there were such similarities. And I just really appreciate, Takuan for bringing that to the table and for bringing his books to the table. Like his whole existence is so like, what are we talking about? Basically, how we got hooked up. I was promoting the book fair in the metaverse. And if you don't know what a metaverse is, it's a society inside the computer. But because it was inside the computer, then people outside of Chicago could really take place, which made it so that Takuan could easily take place in our metaverse. So what happened was he contacted us and he was like, I got to be down with this. And I was like, what? Be down with what? I was like, what you mean? He's like, I'm from Japan. And I was like, okay, cool. You from Japan or you in Japan? He was like, both. And I was like, oh. And so just doing the Soulful Chicago Book Fair in the metaverse made it so that the brother could take part. And I was so happy about that. Look at this. Oh, look at this. Zelda said, enjoying the show from Michigan. Thank you, baby. Thank you from rocking and rolling, no matter where you are. Seeing that the show is here for you. Thank you, my love. Zelda does our Monday morning mindfulness show here at the Female Solution. So was extremely happy about the fact that Takuan brought himself to the stage through the metaverse. And I think I got him in the studio, coming to the studio now. Wait a minute, let me see if I can bring a brother up. Can I bring a brother up?
Yes, you can. I apologize. I'm just getting in.
No, it's okay. Like I told the audience, you 14 hours different. Like, what we doing? Just to make it go right is a pleasure. So thank you so much. Got you down as an international author. You can't just say fiction, nonfiction. Nope. We got to put it on down. You are literally international because you're writing in both American language, English, and Japanese. So thank you for coming, brother. I just showed a video. I don't even know if you saw that video. It was made by CEO Superheroes, and it showed you talking to the kids. It even showed you freestyling. I don't know if you saw that video before.
Oh, I saw the last part, but I didn't see the part when I was talking to the kids. And I really wanted to see that, especially the lead up to that.
Okay, well you'll be able to see it in this broadcast after it's done. It's also on YouTube. I was like, ooh, I never saw this video before. So it does show you being asked a question by the young people about a culture shock when you went back to Japan, and you answering the question and stuff like that. So anyway, we are going to move on. I was just telling them about how you came into the metaverse and how you found us. So can you tell us a little bit about like what happened, how you find us, and then you made it go right to be with us?
Honestly, now it's a little bit vague because it's been a while now. But I just, know, at certain points when I'm writing, I get to certain points where I know I have to reach out because, no matter how good your book might be, if nobody reads it, then, what's the point? So I just remember, getting on my horse and I know I have to reach back. And, I've been in Japan for a minute and a half. And so I came across, Spirit led me to the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. And I remember I was checking it out. I was looking at it, talked to a few people, but I knew right away. I was, I'm definitely going to check this out. And I really want to say, that from the first time that I contacted Asada, it was just like, wow, we really, really hit it off. She was, so approachable. And, she really, really, rolled out the welcome mat. And, and from there, we just went, and now I've been to Chicago twice, and I'm looking forward to the third visit coming right up here, right around the corner. I can't wait because last time I went in the summer the first time, but I was a little under the weather, and, some things happened. I don't think it rained. So like half of it was rained out, the second half. But I just remember how lit Chicago was. And I don't know if people know how nice Chicago is in the summertime. I came back raving, talking to people, and the couple of people from Chicago, a brother and sister, they're laughing at me and they even said, they were like, yeah, we don't want all these out of towners coming in, doing all this stuff. But yeah, I'm really looking forward. Chi-Town, please welcome me. I'm looking forward to seeing all of y'all.
Now, talk a little bit about the metaverse. This was your introduction to our world. And like I was saying right before you came on, this was my introduction to you. It's like, what? A Black man in Japan? Like, what we doing? Like, people, even when I say who you are, they be like, what you mean? He a brother? And I'm like, yes, he a brother, in Japan. So talk a little bit about the metaverse and just your presence in it. One of these images here has your friend from, I think you said he was from Kenya. I'm not too sure.
Mozambique.
Yeah, from Mozambique. So talk a little bit about your experience in the metaverse and what that was like.
Okay, well, I hope I'm going to try. If he's not watching now, I'm going to get him to watch this. Shout out to Maori. The metaverse was, and I don't know, is this still on? Is it still up?
You can still go in our metaverse. It's a little different. I don't have the full control. We're going to get full control and get it popping like we did before, but you can visit the general metaverse environment. Yeah.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I really don't know what everyone is waiting for because the metaverse is nice. It's just really lit. You can go in all these different rooms, but for myself, it was my first experience. I had heard, certain things about the metaverse, and they actually were kind of negative, the things that I heard. So even when you first brought it to me, I was like, oh, really? But I'm not one to shy away. I'm a critical thinker. So, I take a look at it, and I was like, I don't know what, all the warning signs and bells were about. I guess maybe it has to do with the people you're entering that metaverse with. For myself, I entered in with a whole bunch of, beautiful melanin-rich brothers and sisters from, the book fair. I don't think most of the people were centered in Chicago or might have used to live there, but I remember some people were calling in from different states, were speaking from different states. We're all on the floor, or in the same room, technically. But just the ability to be able to reach out and talk to people. Of course, you could Skype someone. You can, you can team someone, right? Or get on Zoom or these different applications. But it was just the idea of all of us being together, like especially when you gave there was lectures And then I even like networked, and I met, I can't remember the sister's name, and she schooled me on a whole bunch of stuff regarding SEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, just the networking when you want to meet people, because really, I really want to get back up in here, because when I finish this book I'm writing right now, Teleconnected, I'm going to go on at least a year crusade where that's all I'm going to try to do is just network and really try to get my work in front of the right people who want to
Right.
lead it. Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. Now, I love that you emphatically always say, I'm a writer. You don't be playing with nobody. People be talking about, I go to work, and you do that as well. We'll talk a little bit
Right.
about that. But you for real about, I'm a writer, and you're a teacher as well, correct?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, because this right here, first of all, y'all, he got the books, Afro-Asiatic what books. And I love that he look at the book, he got Keeping It 100 in English. He put the lingo in there, and then he got it in Japanese. So talk a little bit about your world as an educator. When you teach in the schools, are you teaching English to Japanese students, or is it general things, but you teach in Japanese? Talk a little bit about what you do.
Well, I've been doing this teaching in schools, being involved in education in Japan for over 25 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's always centered something around English, but I tried to even get away from that, at times. But, Japan, after the war, the, colonization and everything, English is just it. And I can't front on English because, it has paid my bills. But although I teach English, I got something about English, I always teach. A teacher is, someone who's going to meet the needs of the student. And especially in Japan, they grant you with the title sensei. And they take that very seriously. And I definitely do. And just to let you know, they call doctors sensei as well. So if you walk in the room, that's Amaru sensei. Like I went to Nagoya University today for some business, and I don't teach there at Nagoya University, but one of my former students that I used to teach came running up on me. He's like, Amaru sensei, and just whenever you're in public, if somebody just calls you, in a university, they would assume that I'm a teacher. But if they just run up on you, they just know that this person is giving you respect. So I take that very, very seriously. And yeah, again, so it's always going to be something around English, but it goes in all directions. Even now I teach at a company too. I teach some company lessons, and I would say more than half of the lessons have now went into like social work. I just give almost full-blown counseling sessions, because I used to be a mental health. I'm a licensed mental health specialist back before I came to Japan as an adult. I worked at the University of Medicine Dentistry, New Jersey, in the behavioral health section. And so we don't even open textbooks. And there's a lot of stress in Japan. And if you read in my book, 21st Century Japan Decoded, which is a nonfiction book that I wrote for, she is on point. That's written for Black people who live in Japan, because I've gotten so many emails over the course of, 25 years plus of, just what's going on, with usually coworkers or some kind of relationship issue. And because Japanese have a very, very, very deep code, a code that they get taught from, right from the cradle. Like even before my family left Japan, I remember, getting this, and not even, my mom, of course, but, my father, he wasn't there. Not that they were split. My father was in the war. He was in the service, but, from the society, so I have an inkling of it, but, the suicide rate is out of control, and it's strange because the thing that drives them crazy, the stress factor, it's the same thing that you could make a case for that makes Japan great. But anyway, it's something that exists. And so a lot of Japanese people, just like the, Black people or expatriates, they see me the other way around. They're like, oh, you know a little bit more about Japan just intrinsically, or they want to know, but they see me as an opportunity to release some steam. And that really helps me out because I love balancing my classes like that. But also I want to be, like I said, as a teacher, the title teacher, it's much more expansive than the title maybe in the West. And so, you meet the needs of your student, and that's what I really try to do.
I don't think you guys fully understand his depth now, because, you got this side, like the social work side, you got the English teacher side, and then you have your trilogy, your books, Gaikojin. And when I read book one, I was just like, yo, this is just totally about a brother for real, and not fully understanding your background. When the young student interviewed you in the video, and you were talking about when you moved to Japan, the age you were there, with the age you moved to the States, because you came to the States early, right? Right. And then you left the States to go back to Japan in your 20s.
Actually, right at the end, I think I was like 30.
Okay.
When I finally went. Yeah.
Got you. And so you were just talking about how it was different. I want to show a quick clip of just the storyline for you guys, because it's not what you think. People ask the most crazy questions to him. I asked them in one of our events, asked him so silly questions about, do they have noodles in Japan? Like, so it's like, but I want you to get an understanding of his book and what the subject matter is, just even book one. So take a quick look at this video and get an idea. Yo, let me tell you something. When I read that book, I am in that same generation. And so I was just flexing with all of the references. It was like, am I reading somebody I grew up with? And it was so dope because I could relate so thoroughly. But I think one of the I'm not going to sit here and have you tell the story of it, but I want to know about such a drastic difference to me of who we're looking at right now and who you were. And what would you say took you from where you were to where you are now, just straight mentally? Like, how did you get to this space of no longer living a life that was on the road to disaster? That's what that said in that video.
Oh, well, I have to really, really just, thank the creator for the people that were sent to me. And it just let you know, like, the human family, they're not just going to let you just crap out without giving you at least a chance. So I could, talk about certain individuals that even in the book, I talk about because I left my home, my father and I, my father, a good man, he was rough around the edges like me. He had his flaws, but he was a very, honest, very upright man. And he's from the South, and Jim Crow, the story, Vietnam, and he had a lot of stress. And so we ended, the climax of the book, it's just a true story. We got into a fight and destroyed a lot of, the house, and it was really bad. I was homeless for, a week. And when I got in the Army, I had a chip on my shoulder. And I think what it was, I was so scared of my father for so long that, getting through that, now I was just out of control. And I really didn't know where I was at. I was in the Army thinking I was like in high school, playing these little silly games. And I should have got kicked out. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's not even, it's a very, very clear-cut case, but people went above and beyond the call of duty to be like, okay, no. He's not that stupid. There's something there. And they saw something in me. Like one guy, he was a Filipino drill sergeant named Sergeant Suncheon. Yep, and it's in this book right here, book 2. That's when I actually enter the Army. And this guy, he risked his whole career. I'm not going to give it away, but he risked his career and went and broke protocol in the Army. He's a drill sergeant, and later on, way later after I finished, thought I hated him, and he really, really, he stuck it to me. I remember him, telling me stuff. Because then after he broke me down, he was bringing me up. And he told me he was an ex-LA gang member, and he told me a lot of stuff. And I was like, oh, but I really, really was out there, and these people really, really extended themselves. And another thing I could even say, like, I think I talked to one of my classmates back in Jersey, and he told me they're having a reunion. And they're going to Aruba. So anybody, in that class going to Aruba, and then shout out to y'all. And I remember just thinking how, like, I've never been to any kind of reunion because I really didn't like high school because I went through, that's when I was going through it. But even after I got out of the Army, I already knew that everything that I was, oh, woe is me. Oh, it wasn't fair, and this person did that to me. As soon as from the Army, I went into college, and I had to get a job. I was a social worker, and I was just getting it because it was the only job I could get. They would, and it was low paying, but working with kids in the hood, mostly Black and Latino. But when I got a chance to enter their homes, read their case files, I was like, man, I ain't got nothing to complain about. Matter of fact, I'm embarrassed. I really feel really, really kind of soft here, especially when you're talking to the guy. My first case, though, was an 8-year-old boy, a 10-year-old boy, and I think Lil Don was like 14. And, the 8-year-old boy had been raped by another boy. And, everybody was living in poverty. But these kids were just so cheery because when I came around, I guess I just represented everything that was good for them. I had a car, I could drive around, and and of course they could feel the love coming from me, and I could feel the love coming from them. Mm-hmm. And I just remember looking at them, and I'm like, you're sitting here right here just like me, and they believed in me. Mm-hmm. They believed in me, and I was like, I remember I'm anything that happened, any of that little stuff was just me growing pains. And just really looking back and just realizing how unstable I was emotionally.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's important for people to know these points in your life are just categories or chapters that you can write a new chapter to, and no play on words in terms of, you wrote a book about it, but this is the reality. Taking your life experience and looking at how you shift. You got to make a decision to shift, and then take on whatever onus you want to, whatever you want to for the future. And which leads me to another question. Well, before I get into that, we're going to take a quick break, and this hour's going by too fast. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into, what you feel is one of the highlights of your current mission in the work that you're doing, with the books and the stories that you're telling. So we'll be back after these messages. Y'all don't go nowhere because we even got a review of you heads out here just reading this stuff, but let's just take a look. We'll be right back. Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is John Alexander.
And I'm Naima Latif. Meet people like you who are making a positive difference in the world.
Big difference.
Watch us every day on The Media Connection at www.youtube.com/The Media Connection TV.
YouTube it. We'll see you soon.
Soulful Chicago Book Fair!
All right, we are back. And just so y'all know, mark your calendars. August 9th is when the next book fair is. Takuan will be there, boop, 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 in big time fashion. I got some things up my sleeve that are going to be so magnanimous for us. Oh, God, so good. I can't say them yet. I got to sign the contracts on it, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, August 9th, y'all want to be there because whoever's an author at that event, kudos to you, baby, because they're coming for you. The world is coming for us. So anyway, want to go back to what I said about the highlight. What would you say is the highlight of why you do what you do in the work that you're doing with your books? What's the highlight for you?
Ooh, that's a pretty profound question. I've always been thrust into the role of teaching in some way, shape, manner, or form. Whether it be coaching sports. When I was in the military, they made me become the squad leader. You know, I was back there shucking and jiving. They were like, "Oh no. You come up here," and that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And it's full of laughs, folks. I mean, because I was really trying to like, who me? Nah, you know. And so I keep noticing, like, if I try to teach, it doesn't work. Like, I went as far as I started studying the Meta Netter under Muata Ashby, and I got a certificate to teach, ancient Egyptian theology, wow. I don't even remember half of it. I know it in like I think I've ingested it. But in terms of like the facts and everything like that, I forget like the ages and who was the pharaoh and all this stuff. That stuff is all kind of went away. So but I noticed it's the same thing. It's almost like hip hop. Like back in the day when hip hop, the MCs, like now MCs just I'm an MC. Here, let me rap. But I know when I was growing up, you bet you couldn't even approach the turntables if they didn't know you. You get beat down. It was like a sacred area. And you got hauled up there, like how people heard you, and people who had had it going on would be like, "Yo, he's nice," and then people would listen to you, and that's kind of how it goes. So I feel like what I'm being called to do, like people ask me to do, is kind of explain or allow. Or I think people look at me and their limits. What people put limits on themselves, or society a lot of times, or your family puts limits. And I notice when people talk to me, a lot of times they're talking about me in one way or another. And I think maybe somehow I encourage them to expand their limits. Like I said, a lot of these limitations is like a blinders on a horse. You're kind of either you're creating them or you're agreeing for, your limits to be there. And so, a lot of times it's just a matter of you just doing something different. And I don't mean, going out and breaking the law or doing something extreme. A lot of times it's just, hey, maybe I should fast. Maybe I should, I should pull back. A lot of times it's not do more. Sometimes, less is more. But, even in the book I'm writing right now, which I really, really was hoping was going to be, ready by the time I came to Chicago this time. But, that's not going to work. But it's called Teleconnected. And it's a book about two twins, a boy and a girl, who are telepathic. And they're Black and Japanese like me, but this story takes place in Japan. And the reason I wanted to do that is because, number one, I've never seen a book like that before.
No, that's right.
I've never seen a book like that. And even when I tell my Japanese students, they're just like, how you writing in Japanese or you're writing in English? You're writing, and I was like, no, I'm writing in English, but it's going to be translated. This one's quick because I'm making it, targeting it towards teenagers per se. So, none of my books are profane, but, we spoke with a lot of profanity in the 80s and stuff like that. So I wanted to have some authenticity to it.
Yeah.
But the main thing in this book, I think, and people, when I explain it, people seem really intrigued is first of all, the book takes place contemporarily. So it ends in 2022 and the two twins are 19 years old. So I talk about things that actually happen in current events, and I go into the culture of Japan, right?
Nice.
And I go pretty detailed about things that people want to know. And I think I told you, because the Unification Church, the people maybe in previous generations know them as the Moonies. Sung Hyung Moon, he's a Korean guy. He had a lot of followers, and they were very, very, solicitous. They would come up and ask you and try to get money from you back in the day.
Okay.
But yeah, they were very, very big in Japan, and they have a very, very negative reputation. And so I needed a bad guy. So I was like, I'm going to use this church, I think, Okay. And as I did, I was reaching out trying to find somebody in Japan, but Japanese, once you have a bad reputation, if they even know someone, they're not going to say yes, because it kind of shines a light on them. That's how it looks. But I asked a lot of people, and I couldn't find anybody. I go to Chicago on the Uber ride back. I didn't even say anything. The driver just starts talking about how I'm in this Unification Church, and it's really popular in Japan. And I was like, what would you say?
Right.
And it's really more her husband. But still, I mean, it was just the way spirit is moving. It was like leading me to it. And it was funny. So I when I met these folks, I'm like, they're nice people. They're not like evil, or I knew it was going to be like that. So I tried to, back up off it, but I use the church and have a splinter group from it to try to keep it clean. I don't want to attack anybody, but the point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of things going on, and I try to explain them in the backdrop of the book. What's going on. The Japanese people, they're going to hear things about what Black people in America think, especially hopefully in the next book. I'm hoping if this book does half as well as I'm hoping it will.
Okay.
I want that book to actually center in Chicago.
Nice.
Yay.
We want as much as possible for you to figure out how to put yourself here in Chicago.
Oh, and shout out to Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad, whose grandson was the one who actually got me to freestyle and was up there doing the beatbox.
Nice.
And he granted me an interview with him, and he gave me permission to use his likeness in the book.
Nice.
So you already know this guy's going to be schooling. He's going to be schooling folks, and he's going to school the main character's father.
Yeah, Chicago got it for you. If it's spiritual, this city has it. Like, it just ebbs and flows throughout spirit, like in so many different forms, whether it be the nation, Hebrews, like you said, Unification Church. Like, it's just, if it's Black and spiritual, it exists in Chicago, and it thrives in its form. So I'm happy that you have been able to tap into it in these different ways, and that everything for a reason. You came into our world for a reason, no doubt about it. And but you're making an impact around the world, and you have so many different types of readers of your books, and I'll show a little bit of them, but do you find a difference in the races in terms of what they gravitate towards in your books? Like, white people go read this more, Black people read this more, or Japanese people read this more? Like, do you find that there are sort of a pattern or not in the people that read your books?
Okay, the people that read my books, no, I think what it is the people who read my books, especially if I look at it across racial divides. Again, I talk about this concept of melanin richness, right? And of course, you can never separate melanin from dark skin. But that is, if we stop there, that's really just, glazing the top, right? The icing. It's really about, again, the limits. People who can open their limits and can see, get off the linear, plane and open their minds. I think those are the people who gravitate towards my books, whether race, gender, religion, that's what I really think. Okay. Yeah, the people who ask me about it, I find no matter what color they're asking me, generally same questions, and it's always about. It always gravitates back to them, and it's always something about, hey, I was thinking about, doing. What do you think about that? And it's something that maybe is a little bit off of the worn and beaten path, right? And I tell them that I'm like, hey, that's what you got to do, like, because you have to through this life you have to keep continually recreate yourself. Right? Recreate you are, you think about when you were 13, when you different stages of your life, who you believed you were at that time.
Oh, okay. Right.
For better or for worse. And then it goes almost the same as your body size. When you were like 10, you had a 10-year-old kid's body, but now look at you, however, your age. And it's like, so who's the real you? Which one is the real you? Right. And I think it's, all of them are really you, right? It's evolution, but sometimes it can be devolution too, right? At the same time. So, where are you in this, in this balancing act? And I think that's the kind of stuff I get when people are speaking to me. And I really, really appreciate that too. And I want to shout out to my brother James, my Afro-Asiatic member. He's out in Chicago. He be holding me down. And my brother McBride Kelly. And he, Kelly's in book 2. You might know. But he and I, we used to be, we were trouble when we were together back in the day. But now we're grown, we just cooling out. But it wasn't a good scene. But I'm looking forward to seeing my brothers, my Chicago, liaisons. And of course,
they'll be here. They'll be here for sure. Whenever you come to town, they definitely. And so I'll be like, wait a minute, was he here 3 times? But yeah, it was 2 times. This will be a 3rd time here. It seems like you've just been here so many times. If you don't notice, if you're watching, Takuan's website is at the bottom of the screen, takuanamaru.com. That's where you can get his books. All of the books are there, right? And then you see different characters here, different supporters here, people that bought the book. I'm curious, what do your Japanese following, what do they say about 21st century Japan decoded? Because these pictures show different people with different books of yours. And so they're going to have different experiences. But what are Japanese people saying about that? Because I think some of the criticisms or feedback that you give about Japan, I'm curious as if they see it too, or have they just been ignoring it? Or so what are they saying?
Oh, they definitely see it, and they have been ignoring it. I mean, because you have to ignore it. Well, let me not say you have to ignore it. That sounds really negative. But it's all encompassing in Japan. And the thing about it is, it's weird because Japanese people, the pressure that they have, they do it to themselves. Like it's on autopilot. It's like it's the Confucianism in them because it's based on shame. They shame each other. And so that's why they don't need to have police walking the beat or anything because they're the police themselves. And you ask whether they see it. They definitely see it. But especially if you're from outside of the culture, they'll sit here and they'll pretend like for example, You know, even though I say I'm Japanese, I always have to prove it to them. And anybody who lives in Japan, if you're a so-called, you know, a non-Japanese, foreigner, they'll always say, you know, Japan is such a safe country, and that is the stereotype, you know, or you know, could say the narrative that Japan is safe. And a lot of people are listening and saying, I've been to Japan, or I've heard, yeah, and it is safe. You don't like, you know, worried about getting mugged or that. I've never even heard of anybody getting mugged. I've never heard anybody getting beat up by the police, harassed a little bit maybe, but never done anything physical. And I've only seen a couple fights the whole time I've been here. So yeah, you could make that claim, but that's because the danger comes in a whole different, you know, way. And when Japanese say it to me, and then I break down, why that's a fallacy, and then they're like, wow. And then when they find that I wrote it all down in a book, and it explains why, you know, Japan has, like, you know, I think per capita, the second or third highest, you know, suicide rate. You know, it explains, you know, talks about the negative birth rate, and then the effects of this. And the reason I wrote this book is, you know, Black people, you know, about 10, when I first got here, a lot of, you know, native speakers, English speakers would come through like kind of in a backpacking experience. They come, you know, 1 year, 2 years following college, and then they would go back or go to another country. But now, you know, career opportunities have expanded. So people are now coming here, and they're, you know, laying down roots, and they're starting families, etc. And so I'm like, so the pressure and stress that's affecting Japanese people, that's leading to, you know, record rates of suicide, not to mention like hikikomori, like, you know, I don't know if people know, but that is like the people who are like shut in and they won't come out of the room, and they're real scared. You can see it, you know. And so what's going to stop Black people from succumbing to this? Especially when you see kids, like Black parents, they come from, you know, a nation in Africa or the States or the Caribbean. And even when it's two Black people, the kids come out Japanese if they go to the Japanese school, because that's the training center. You know, I mean, and you say it's training center in all countries, but not like Japan. Japan, it's like literally the military. And I'm a military brat, and I've also personally been in the Army, so I know a little bit of about what the military looks like. And when I say this to Japanese people, I mean, I got a little bit of pushback for a second, maybe not even that. But I never forget the first time I said this. I was working at a Buddhist high school in Kyoto called Heian High School. Koko is short for high school. And it's one of the most traditional schools in Japan. And most of the teachers are Buddhist monks. And I said this, and this is like maybe 2008, around 2007, 2008. This is a minute ago. And I remember I was talking to one teacher, and of course I'm speaking Japanese. And when I finished, because, you know, I got into a flow, you know, because, you know, I'm accessing spirit, it was just dead quiet. And this is a really big teacher's room. And I didn't realize, everyone's listening. And my supervisor is there, and he's, you know, old, you know, 50, almost 60-year-old Japanese man. He's like, in Japanese, he's like, I'm going to say, you finally become now you're really Japanese.
Say it in Japanese. Say it in Japanese. How he said it? What did he say?
He was like, I'm going to say, no, 本当にでも日本人になりましたね.
I just get such a kick out of that. I just get a kick out of it.
And I was like, and you know, basically he was like, yay, what you said, that's what it is. And I figured it out, because I was like, why do Japanese people have to go to school all day? Like, their school is much longer than any other place I've ever been. And then they have the nerve to go to this another school to study what they learn. I'm like, whoa, you're going to go do what? You know, like, you talking about no time, but that's the whole thing. That's part of the training process. The whole thing is, you know, when you're in the military, what they try to bombard you, right? They try to bombard you, you know, like, it's mind control, you know, trauma, repetition, and symbols.
Look at this question right here. Look at this question here. Naima Latif said, is that shaming? That's right. Is that shaming culture a contributing factor to the high suicide rate?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Because the shit. Like again, you don't have to have police. Like I saw a video and about like they were showing Dubai, and people were like in Dubai, they were showing at the mall, and people just putting their what they bought on the seats and then going in line at the food court, and they're like, look, nobody steals in Dubai because the punishment is death. The punishment is death. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. But I was like, they do that same thing in Japan, and the punishment is not even close to death. It's you have to go to jail similar to with the US, but it's the stigma. Because if you go to jail, your whole family got to pay, right? Oh, it's so severe that you might never recover from this, and you could just get a rumor put out about you. I know men who make money; they're borderline millionaires on playing the stock market in New York, and they're in Japan. So as Asada told you, and everybody knows the time difference. So these men literally live opposite time-wise. But they told me, and this is two different guys who don't know each other over different years. They told me that they get up in the morning and leave. They get dressed like as if they're going to work in business attire and leave and walk out and go out. And I don't know what they do. But they have money like that. And they come back. And I was like, why do you do all that? They said, because if I was in the house all day, people that you get a bad reputation, nobody would marry my daughters.
Wow. So the reputation, the whole family gets the reputation just based on one person's
right. But this is not even something negative. These guys are borderline millionaires. But in Japan, they have one way to do everything. I'm talking about if you're with Japanese people and you walk up the steps and skip, because Japanese people are small. I'm like the tallest guy. I'm like barely 6 foot. I'm like walking around like Charles Barkley out here. You know what I'm saying?
I have a picture of you. Yeah, I was going to put that up, but go ahead.
Just if you skip steps, if you're doing it in line, that's like negative. Anything that goes off anything like that points you out as like not like Japanese is like the goal. Like all Japanese people are trying to be the same person. Like, and so any deviation from that same person there's a consequence for it. And for Japanese, because of their training, everything is about being in the group. You have to be inside of a group. And so if you're not in a group, you could have Japanese DNA all you want. You're not Japanese anymore. And all Japanese know this, but they'll never tell you that. And, but you flip it on the other side, in my opinion, or not even my opinion, I hear like a lot of conscious Black channels now, they're talking about Black people have to be on code, right? There's this idea of being on code. And I'm like, I'm in Japan and I'm like, oh, man, that's all there is the code. Because when I first came here, I was like, yeah, if I could take some of this over to, Black culture and we'd be on code, man, we'd have it all. And I kind of still believe that. But when I started looking at the consequences of the way Japanese people are on code, it's not even a matter of whether it would work. No Black people like what? What you say? What'd you say? Because I'm on that now. Okay. I know how to walk the line.
Okay.
Right? I can be Japanese when it's time.
I love how you flip out. Y'all hear he ain't got no accent, right? He sound like he's from New York. I was like, what are we doing? This sister, Ashabi said, from CEO Superhero, said, will Takuan be presenting a lecture at the book fair as he did when sharing the African influence of Japanese culture? Will you be doing a presentation at the book fair? The answer is, heck yeah. We are definitely not, we are not having him do a lecture. I actually had, I'm just going to show an image of you. I don't know. I'll find it in a minute, but I brought this up just to show you next to some Japanese.
Out to you.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's right. Shout out to Ashabi. Yeah, so yeah, I brought this up too, just to show your stature, as you were saying. next to, Japanese brothers and sisters, boop, boop. Yeah, put that black in there, put that melanin in there, baby. It's a whole different thing. It's a different, just physical stature. I love who you've become to us even. I think when we meet you, it's just like, what are you? Like, what does this mean? How does this, and I do say Dag, we only got like another few minutes left, but why do you think it's important to show the African retentions in Japanese culture? Because you are that, you reflect that.
Oh man, again, this could be its own show, because even myself, when I left, and this is kind of part of what I actually want to present. When I left the United States, I think it was 1998, the first time I left as an adult. I came back, I went back a little bit, but I was really down and out at the time, because this was like right after, I feel embarrassed about it now, Biggie and Tupac were assassinated or murdered. And I think, I came of age and I started realizing that I had gotten bamboozled, about a lot of things in terms of, they're saying, racism is going away. Racism, that's only one of the things. I could talk about sexism. I could talk about any of these discriminatory forms. They always give you this story to try to get you to relax. But it's better than it used to be. It's better than it was. And until you go back and actually do the research and find out that that's not true. And sometimes it's even worse, especially because of just what it's done to people's minds and the fact that we think, oh yeah, it's getting better. And then it's not the case at all. So I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again? Because
it was just, we actually only have about 2 minutes left, but it basically was saying, why do you think it's important to show African retentions in Japanese culture?
Well, because every time I went and researched, like even when I was at the Buddhist school, I started going in heavy on Japanese history, right? And I'm asking them, because the history teacher and I became, really, really like a senpai, kohai, a senior junior relationship. And he was really, really impressed because I was, finding things. But then at a certain point, everything just started becoming black.
Yeah.
And this is even when it's still in Japan. This is a little bit more too much coincidence. And the original people of the world were black people. And, that's just, and I think when you start, the further you go back in, like it's anything else, go back to the original form, you're getting back into the essence. And that's what this world society is lacking right now, right? It's justice, reciprocity. And these things are in our story. And I mean us as the human family, right? I can talk about black people, of course, most doubt, because we were the ones leading this,
right?
And that's what I talk about. I don't try to throw it in their face in a way, but I just say, I show them things and try to get them to figure it out.
Gotcha.
That's my to elicit, because you do that as a language teacher too.
Gotcha.
Right? They'll never remember it if you just repeat after me. Yeah. Say this. They got to figure it out.
No doubt about it. Oh my gosh, it is time for us to go. I just can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you. You guys, I know you look forward to experiencing Takuan in person August 9th. I'm so glad you're coming back to the States, and continue the excellent work and being an example to us. I really appreciate you.
And likewise to you. You're a big example and inspiration to me, Zara, and all the folks out in Chicago. I can't wait to see you and eat that good food. Oh, we got to dance this time too. We got to dance.
He's going to do a Soul Train line, y'all. So we'll see.
I didn't bring it up. See, you going to bring it up like, oh, Lord.
It's all good. I love y'all. I love you, Takuan. Love y'all.
Love you back.
See you next Tuesday, 7 a.m. for Gathering of the Griots. Peace. Thank you, Female Solution.
Peace.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, zhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jareh. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.